This is George.
Hello.
He's racing the train.
We're only halfway up the f***ing hill.
We're gonna beat you. That's the long and short of it.
We're going to be pulling in as the train is pulling in. We're we are absolutely
Victory is ours. So close I can taste it. So, for biking you need a lot of safety gear. You need your helmet and, I assume, other things. I'm not sure what those things are. I've never been a bike man, but I am a train person. For trains you need something very slightly different, and that is entertainment. We got books, we got games, we got video games, and we got snacks. Oh no, we're out of snacks. So where do you actually think they are? Because they could legitimately be saying anything.
I don't think they're actually showing it all. I think it's a very gruelling ride. Like, it's really hilly.
When I asked originally what they were doing, they did seem a little bit cagey, and they were giving like way too many specifics, like you do when you're a liar. I feel like they might be broken down somewhere. I feel like they might actually be hitting some trouble.
Well, George has crashed again.
See, I don't know if they've told you this before, because the other team might not tell you, but beforehand, George had crashed 4 times.
In a week.
In a week! All best of luck to them. It's a long, hard drive, but yeah, I don't have the most faith, which is why I'm actually quite convinced we're making good time. We're on the right path. We don't have to do anything for 4 hours, so there's nothing we can mess up. I guess fate is in the train conductor's hands now. We'll keep it right on track.
Right, the time is pretty much 3:30, close to the dot. Jake and Mark will have got on the train in Shrewsbury about an hour ago. If they're back in Wales, then we're in trouble. We're in too much of a rush now for us to tell you anything. We want to beat this train. That's why we're here. And if telling you about why we're trying to beat this train stops us from beating this train, tough tits, we're going to beat the train. Now they're miles behind me. It's not good.
As we made our way out of Tregaron, buzzing from that long-awaited caffeine fix, it was worryingly clear that from here on in, we were going to need to hurry. Although the journey so far has mostly been on the cycle paths following the earthworks of the old railway, these do run out at Tregaron. We could have chosen to stay on the National Cycle Network route along the south side of the Tavy Valley, but when me and George came to scout the route ahead of the race, we found that this was really just another fiddly B road. So today, we'll be using the fast road opposite. This also happens to follow closer to the course of the old railway and takes us past some of the visible remains we mentioned in part 1.
Planio. Fair play. Hence Pont Planio. Really smell the silage.
But while I was enjoying the scenery, the weather was getting worse. Not only had it started raining, but by now the headwind was looking like the biggest threat to our chances of victory.
Yeah, windy day.
It really is.
Give me some draft. This is the last hill we have to climb, and then we're in Lampeter.
Dan said he was going to hang back and give George a bit of draft. That is to say, cycle slightly ahead of George and break the wind for him. I mean, I'm quite glad he's not breaking wind in front of me.
Okay, that was a fart joke. But at least for now, the humour wasn't the only thing going downhill.
A minute ago, Dan said this is the last hill and then we're into Lampeter. Isn't a bad pronunciation. Not great. I don't correct him on it because it amuses me. Okay, so I'm in Lampeter and here they are, just coming down the corner. You alright? Cool. Even if we lose, at least we can be like, yeah, but we did stop and spend best part of an hour having a tea break. But we won't lose, no chance.
Having seen Lampeter in all of its glory, we crossed the river to stay close to the old railway and pushed on towards Carmarthen, wondering to ourselves where the morning's good weather had gone.
We've gone from overcast to bright sun, and I've been doing research because there's nothing else to do. Now, apparently in the 1960s they closed down 200 of the train stations and lines crossing Wales. There's been a petition recently and a reform to open 20 of these locations, and they're still pushing back against it. when you divide by 10 and it's still not enough, well, what you get is this. What you get is 7.5 hours of sitting alone or with a friend on a train doing nothing, when, again, you could have completed this journey in 2 hours. By bike, you could have completed this journey, well, God knows how much quicker they're going to be. If they're going to be quicker at all. I'm just... It's just annoying, okay? It's upsetting, and I'm upset. I've been sitting on my arse a long time. Oh, I need a drink. So we're not even halfway through the last leg of the journey, and I am... Oh, I'm tired. I just had a little nap, and it seems to have made things worse. I think people tend to not understand how tiring doing nothing is. Like, I fully understand. It's tiring biking as well. That's also a tiring thing. But like, oh, I'm using all my energy just to stay awake and just sit still. Oh, let's do more, yay. So it's been a very, very long day, and it didn't have to be. I think that's the point of this whole video. I'm not one of the experts. I'm just a man on a train. I'm not cycling my arse off. We're just sitting around, but we're sitting around for like £60 a head for 7.5 hours, when in reality this trip could be over in 2.
Thank you, Jake. I'm glad to see you hadn't forgotten why we put you on that train. But this ridiculousness is hardly a revelation. Anyone with access to a map could easily point out that Wales's rail network is a joke. So since we've already told you a little of its history, and why those mistakes haven't already been rectified, maybe now's the time for us to take a look at what the future might hold for this railway, and for Wales's rail network on the whole. As it stands, there is no plan to rebuild a railway between Aberystwyth and Carmarthen, despite the broad consensus across local democratic institutions that such an investment would be invaluable to the area. There isn't any willpower to be found where it ultimately matters. For this railway to serve Wales as best as possible, were it built, there are other lines across the country which would need to be rebuilt too. Top of this list is Bangor to Afon Wen. As it stands, there is no plan to rebuild a railway from Bangor to Afon Wen. Considering the difference these two lines would make to West Wales, it's a little surprising to see that neither has drawn Westminster's attention. Before 2020 showed its true colours, at the beginning of that year, the UK Department for Transport announced its Restoring Your Railway programme, with a £500 million pot to support proposals through the first steps of possibly being rebuilt. That was well over 2 years ago now, and of the hundreds of applications from across England and Wales, it looks like a little over 30 lines, services and stations have managed to jump through all the hoops and nudge closer to existing again. Unfortunately, of the 30-something names on the list of successful bids, only one is in Wales, though there are others which will be useful for those living on the borders, like reconnecting Oswestry with Wrexham and Shrewsbury. The one line actually within Wales, looking like it might exist again in the near future, would heal Wales's most urgent north-south divide. On Anglesey. Incidentally, Anglesey's a weak Tory seat, but those aren't the type of connections we're looking for right now. So yeah, good for you, Amlwch. But compared with the two lines it would take to reconnect West Wales with itself, and the benefits that would yield, this one branch line just doesn't cut it. There are already cases popping up of railways being reopened ahead of the Restoring Your Railway scheme, like the Oakhampton to Exeter line in Devon, or the Newport Crosskeys line in South Wales. But these are lines which were never built over, or even pulled up in the first place, so they can be reintroduced to the network relatively quickly and cheaply. The Aberystwyth to Carmarthen and Bangor to Afon Wen railways, in contrast, have been torn up and had cycle paths built on them. Having these lines reopened would involve completely rebuilding them, and undoing over half a century of changes along a route spanning almost 100 miles across Wales. It will be one hell of a task, but thankfully, there's already been an instruction manual written for the Aberystwyth to Carmarthen line, or rather, a feasibility study, which addresses the obstacles along the course of the line, and presents some possible solutions. Now, although there isn't exactly a uniform process to getting railways rebuilt, a study like this is almost always the first step, and its existence offers a promising insight into what the project would involve. This report also answers a lot of people's first question about reopening the railway. What's the price tag? Revisions have since brought the number down, but because these are from mixed sources, we're going to stick with the figure backed by the original 2018 feasibility study, £775 million, or just over £750 million. But what use is this figure, when it seems fair to guess that you, yes you, probably have no frame of reference for what a railway should cost? So here's a handful of relatively recent examples from across Britain. Let's start with the cheapest. The Amlwch to Gaerwen line on Anglesey has only recently acquired funding to conduct a feasibility study, but early estimates put the task of reopening this 17-mile stretch of mostly just overgrown track at £25 million. Next up, and barely 5 miles longer, there's the Oakhampton to Exeter line in Devon, which was reopened to passengers last year, having been used for freight since the 90s. This process cost £40 million. Looking at their length alone, these two could be comparable to the Bangor to Avon Wen railway, which is only another 5 miles longer than the one that cost £40 million at just shy of 30 miles. But, unlike the two we're interested in, neither of those lines had ever been torn up, and most of the GOG route is under a really nice cycle path now, so there might be a bit more work involved in rebuilding it. In the absence of a feasibility study, and by extension an official price estimate, our best bet is to find another comparable line. Enter the 35-mile Scottish Borders Railway, from Edinburgh to, well, the Borders. Tweedbank, if you know it. This line also needed to be built from scratch, and it cost just under £300 million. All of these examples are pretty short railways compared to the railway we're cycling along. At twice the length of its GOG cousin, we have the 60-mile Aberystwyth to Carmarthen railway, with its £775 million price tag reflecting the last 6 decades of neglect. There is a caveat to that figure, though. The £275 million optimism bias. Essentially, the predictable overspend, which suggests that the railway could potentially cost as little as £500 million. Based on these figures, it doesn't seem unlikely that reconnecting all 90 miles from Bangor to Carmarthen would cost something around the £1 billion mark. Our next example has a very similar price tag. So, let's move on to the 80-something mile East-West Railway between Oxford and Cambridge. This one's a mixed bag. Some stretches are already in use. Others are completely gone and built on. The rest is somewhere in between. All in, this railway is due to cost a little over £1 billion. Comparing that East-West Railway with our North-South one, the main difference is obviously that the one near London is actually being done. The next biggest difference is, of course, the size of the population the line would serve. Now, we can't deny that any railway in England will be within reach of more people than any line in Wales will. The Oxford to Cambridge line, for example, will service a population half the size of Wales. But reopening the Aberystwyth to Carmarthen line, it isn't just about the poor bastards living in Lampeter and Tregaron. Our railways are a glaring hole in Wales's national image. Rebuilding the network would be a symbol of proactive environmental action, and it would do a much better job than a couple of buses. And really, is it such an extravagant public service to expect? Together with the GOG line, this would open the whole of Wales up to itself, along the more scenic side. Coming back to the other examples, we've reached the far end of the scale, the crazy expensive end. So, HS2. Here's an investment which got the memo that there's more to public transport investments than the commuters who will learn to hate it. HS2 is, perhaps, more comparable to Concorde than any other UK railway, as in it's an extortionate vanity project that we already had the tools for. With its multiple stages, routine revisions, and a permanent spot on the carousel of political opinion, the cost of HS2 is difficult to pin down. The initial 2010 estimate was the lowest, at roughly £35 billion for the full 330-mile network. But this figure has almost doubled at every 5-year reassessment, jumping to £55 billion in 2015 and on to almost £100 billion in 2020, though that final figure is no longer for the full network, only 2/3 of it. In the absence of an official estimate for the full HS2 network, some third-party sources... Some third-party sources have produced estimates reaching £170 billion. Now, I know I'm meant to be talking about trains, but trains don't cost this much unless you have got some serious corruption going on in Westminster. So, for reference, the estimated cost of the International Space Station is in roughly this ballpark. We aren't looking at trains from space, though. we're looking at them from somewhere with slightly better public transport connections. So let's get back to Wales. For those of us who use public transport in Wales, or in its absence care about it, the real sticker here is how HS2 has been classified as a Wales and England investment by the government in England, despite there not being a single mile of track laid in Wales. This one misclassification prevents something called the Barnett formula from kicking in. The Barnett formula deserves its own video, but in brief, it's a system for identifying unusually expensive investments in England and providing the devolved governments with some reflection of this expenditure. As an isolated case, this misclassification is arguably the number one reason that the government in Wales hasn't already got its diggers and its dumpers out on the old earthworks. Given that Wales already receives less than 2% of rail investment, despite constituting 11% of the network, the £5 or £6 billion Cardiff would receive if HS2 was classified correctly is desperately needed. With a few billion of these Welsh taxpayers' stolen grubby pound coins, we wouldn't even need to blink at the bill for an Aberystwyth to Carmarthen railway. Hell, we could completely rebuild the West Coast Railway, install complimentary champagne fountains at every station, and cover the trains themselves in gold leaf. But then I'm not a Tory party donor, so I can't afford to think like that. But of course, while the government in England is more than happy to splash some truly obscene cash on itself, shock horror, it doesn't think its Celtic colonies are worth it. Now, before we get rid of these price comparison graphs, let's add some honourable mentions. The biggest recent improvement, near the line we're interested in, is of course the new station at Bow Street, which, fully counted, came to around £5 million. That included the station itself, a massive car park, and a network of active travel routes to connect the station with its surrounding area. Closer to the price of an Aberystwyth to Carmarthen railway, we have the 75 miles of new roads built in Wales over our first decade of devolution. These cost £578 million. Somehow more expensive than building 75 miles of brand new shiny roads, less than 25 miles of recent improvements to the A465 Heads of the Valley road between Hirwaun and Abergavenny have cost almost exactly £1 billion. Together, these investments in Wales's highways demonstrate that the government in Cardiff is more than happy to take full advantage of any powers devolved to it. They also prove that spending big money in Wales really isn't that big of a deal. The point of showing you all these numbers, as you've probably already guessed, is to shoot down any myth that rebuilding these railways would be too expensive. This kind of money is unlikely to come from anywhere other than central government, but as state spending goes, the price of this railway would look like a small child's pocket money. Putting the financial question to one side, there are still some hefty logistical obstacles along the route, but, as we've already established, hurdling these ultimately comes back round to the question of political willpower. Within Wales, this political willpower is alive and kicking. But even if those billions from earlier somehow found their way onto Cardiff's balance sheet, we'd still find ourselves staring down the barrel of a battle for the authority to do anything with them. And on that low note, this segment has managed to mimic an infrastructure development project, by which I mean it's taken longer than it should have done. So let's get back to the race to see if George has beaten the train yet.
We've lost him again, haven't we?
Yeah, we tend to do that quite often.
I feel sorry for George. He's a trooper, like he's hanging in there, but I can see he's struggling. You struggling?
I'm starting to, yeah. My arse is feeling it.
I think we're in with a chance. We are about half an hour behind what I'd wanted, but there was a margin on that anyway. It's just not slow and steady, but steady.
Just keep going, keep going, keep going.
That's it, bottom line, just keep moving. Encouragement. We're definitely past the halfway point now, and I think we might have it. Dan said he's going to turn around and leave us at 6:30. So he's going to go 90% of the way and then just turn around. This is why we got him to be the guy who's hanging out in front. If we were being ridiculously faithful to the route of the old railway, we'd have a lot more windy B roads to deal with. But looking at George, we're looking at the time. We're going to go via Pencada because it's one of the stops on the line, and then we're straight back onto this road, the A blah blah blah, whatever the f it is, and just go straight for Carmarthen. see our beautiful on-screen graphic.
Around now, 5 hours in, we'd made it almost 40 miles with 20 to go, which puts us roughly here, between Lampeter and Llanybother, while Jake and Mark should be here. But while they are on their last train, we still had one tricky detour ahead of us. After Llanybother, the old railway we've been following splits from the road we're using. There are roads which follow the railway, but we've decided not to risk getting lost in this fiddly matrix of back roads. On the other hand though, if we followed the A blah blah whatever straight to Carmarthen, we wouldn't get to visit the last stop along a future railway. Pencada. To arrive with a full collection of stations behind us, we'll need to add a couple of hilly miles to our journey, breaking away from the trunk road before rejoining it along one of these little roads. For the moment though, this was all far enough ahead of us not to be a problem. Yet.
Alright, so I'm arriving in Llanybother. Doesn't actually look like a place yet, but I know it is. We are both, me and George, quite knackered. I'm just about wired enough to not to notice that I'm knackered. Where last time I saw George, he was visibly, physically exhausted. Not exhausted, but close. I've just passed our support vehicle. It looks like they haven't noticed me. Go and say hello. They're just catching up. Hello, you didn't notice me.
Yeah, my instinct was right then to get the drone over this guy.
That way. Get him.
Alright.
By now, I am pretty certain that Jake and Mark will be back in Wales. Whether they've reached Cardiff, different question. Who knows, they might have just got mugged in Newport. No, that's just mentally, I can't say that. Then again, last time I was in Newport, I was scared, but that's a different story.
Funnily enough, Newport is exactly where we were. With another 2 hours ahead of us, we were scared. For our sanity.
But while Jake was going insane on the train, he missed something about Newport Station, which might well be the world's biggest dick joke.
It's only 2.5 hours to go. That's nearly, what, 2 Shrek movies?
Yeah,
Like one Godfather. I don't know if you'd finish the Godfather in that time. And why are we talking about Shrek? my mind's gone. The journey was really starting to take its toll. So to stimulate our minds and kill a few minutes, we decided to play a few rounds of Would You Rather. Would you rather have finger-sized nipples or nipple-sized fingers?
Finger-sized nipples, because at least you can take them down.
No, but but they'd be all floppy. But then what if you get like really cold and it just goes... See, I'm looking through this list of Would You Rathers.
Your turn. Which would you go with on that?
I think I think you're correct. I think having nipple-sized fingers would be ridiculous.
What else you got?
I've got loads, but they're all about poo. No, I was reading through these. No, hang on, right. Would you rather eat your family pet or kill your parents? These are like, it's a pretty hardcore. Yeah, I'm not impressed with these. Be just friends with someone you love or marry someone you hate. Gotta be just friends. I've done that enough, you know, like.
Game quite easy. Let's try making some up instead of like.
Okay. Would you rather have monkey feet or monkey tail?
Front or back?
Front or back what?
Tail.
Back.
Oh.
Why would it be?
Because then you can literally, you can like swing from branches and do cool shit.
But it would be really uncomfortable to sit down.
No, monkeys sit down. They're okay.
Yeah, but do they sit down in human seats?
You mean they sit down in trousers as well? There'll be a way to tuck it away somewhere. Like you got a penis somewhere.
Yeah, but it's not like really long. I don't want to say that on camera. Man.
Oh, I've got you. I've got you.
You've got me. You understand that I don't have a prehensile penis.
Imagine swinging your arm through the jungle.
Swing. George of the jungle, watch out for his dick.
Talking with George.
Oh yeah,
George
I'm genuinely wondering.
Do you think he might sometimes give his leg a rest and use his teeth?
In case any of you wonderful people who made this stupid race possible have been wondering why this video has taken such a long time to edit, for the sake of decency, I have needed to painstakingly go over every frame to airbrush out George's 3-foot-long prehensile dong.
There is no possible way that could be true. Now get out of my voiceover.
Alright, you've got me there, Jake, but it sounds like you've forgotten that I'm the one who can do this.
This? looks like a penis. Yeah, we'll go for a pint.
Sorted.
Genuinely go for a pint.
Yeah.
I'll owe you a pint if we win. And if we lose, you owe me a pint. I as an entity at this point, my spirit and body is mostly dead. I mean, I had a wee nap. I think you might have seen a little wee nap, little babby nap. I don't think anything can help me at this point though. The sun is
horrible, isn't it?
He's again, at least I'm not cycling. I think at least we're not powering this thing.
In a way, I wish I was cycling instead of being in this heat.
But I still don't envy those cyclists. I hope they enjoyed their cake.
I don't think they had cake.
Do you think they were just like fobbing us?
They were trying to fuck us.
They didn't give us any information as to what point they were at.
They didn't give us any information. They were like, aha, yeah, we're having a cake.
I think the true message of what we're trying to say in this video is don't cycle, don't take the train. Scientists, start working on teleportation now, because I'm just sick of all forms of travel at this point. I just wanna be there, just instant. Do it.
As you will have seen on the news, since we recorded this, the world's scientists have been galvanised to invent teleportation, making this railway, along with all other forms of transport, completely pointless. Oh no, hang on a minute, that isn't right.
I think he's getting close to bonking, running out of steam.
Okay. I think quite a lot of the road from here is just up, down, up, down, up, down. Just going to be hard work for George. Right.
How much of a chance do we stand?
I think we're going to have to cut out the Pencada bit. We've shot ourselves in the foot earlier on in the race. Well, I've shot us in the foot. I think we can balance it out with a bit of a shortcut here. Like we said at the start, it's them we don't want taking shortcuts.
We're about, it says about 12 miles away from Carmarthen.
Alright, that's not bad at all.
Little guy doing 10 mile an hour, slightly ahead. He's behind by 33 minutes because of all the stops.
Shall we? Yeah. You good? Well, stupid question. I might have edited in a little conversation we just had, but give you the short run of it. We have decided, based on various factors, not to go to Pencada. Not least, don't get me wrong, being we want to win, and that might make the difference. It adds a few miles onto the journey. It would. That was a network rail. There's no train. We've had this conversation. So yeah, we've decided not to go to Pencada. Even if they do build a train line with a station in Pencada, I don't see us going to Pencada anyway. We might, to see what we missed today, but otherwise it wouldn't have any reason, I don't think.
We would like to take this moment to lend our heartfelt apologies to the proud residents of Pencada for our unforgivable failure to include a visit to your wonderful home on this journey. Sincerely, we were devastated. To this very day, we remain deeply and profoundly ashamed that we can still only imagine how wonderful a place it is. What a glamorous and spectacular metropolis you would surely become, the envy of Carmarthenshire, the jewel in its crown, if you had a railway. Pencada. Truly, this magical land is the one, the only, gateway to Llandyssil.
It's not summer anymore, is it?
No, it has wildly turned. We are now in the middle of a fucking cloud. And yeah, it's looking good. It's a bit grim. Yes. Beautiful grim.
Can I turn your audio on? Should have done ages ago, because these are about to run out of battery. I might actually cut you. We've got plenty of footage, no one will tell the difference if it's one bit of us being knackered. For what it's worth, if I manage to convince any of you to do another one of these, it'll be a much shorter route. 2-hour bike ride, and we'll have to stretch it to 7 hours. Bangor to the other side of the Clean Peninsula.
How hilly is it?
You might. Right, if you heard that beeping, that was the GoPro in front of me dying. So, bye-bye.
While the other guys' cameras were dying, we were starting to feel like our own human batteries had died too. My cameraman Mark still had plenty of fresh batteries, so the two of us decided to kill some time with a volley of definitely factual train facts. Did you know that horsepower was invented as an advertisement for one of the first steam engines. A man named James Watt actually tried to calculate how many horses his engine could replace in the mill. Of course, exaggerated a little bit, and that's how we get the number that we use today, based on his calculations. Interesting, right? Right? You've got to be interested in this. Someone's got to be interested in this. Chain facts! Did you know bats absolutely under no circumstances can be domesticated or trained bats? Eating a lot of greasy food can often increase cholesterol. Trans fats.
I don't think it's very funny.
I think it's very funny. I don't care what you think. You've only been watching, like, what, 2 hours worth of us just f***ing around. I hope you like this. I hope you enjoy everything we're doing. Did you know the ancient Egyptians had the first drain system throughout their civilization? Drain! Duh. I'm really drained. So we've just been doing some very serious calculations, and even though I should have been watching and reading up on various Welsh drain lines and information around that, we decided to put our time into something a lot more important. We've calculated that in the time that we will spend on this train today, we could have watched Shrek 1 5 times, but we couldn't have watched Shrek 5 1 time. Because it's not out. There isn't a Shrek 5. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing with our brain. See, while I'm sure bike riding is very physically exhausting, this is testing this thing up here. If I have any left, which I assume no. I assume no. Thankfully though, before my last surviving brain cell managed to escape, we had a moment's stimulation when Will, in the biker's support van, called us on the phone for a saga of a conversation. Hey, how you doing? We're... Okay, bye. Is he gone?
I don't know, are you there?
He had to go. He's gone. Damn. So we just got a phone call, and so it was Will, and he said, "Hey, how you doing? Where you at?" And then was like, "Wait, I gotta go," and then it cut out. I'm trying to work out whether that was them telling us they were there now. That doesn't sound like it. That sounds like there was a problem. And we've only got an hour and a quarter. We might have this. Like, I genuinely didn't think, like, okay, I admit we're meant to kind of be the bad guys in this, but I've spent 6 hours on a train today. I want that to be worth something. I want my 200 pennies, George.
My legs decided to be like, nope, up hills I don't stand much of a chance. Given the fact that there is mist about, I suggest we're pretty high up, and you know what that means. We're high up, there's only one way to go, that's down. We're approaching New Inn now, and there's a little lay-by. My friends are waiting for me.
Point a camera at him while he comes and approaches us.
So just keep going?
Just keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna say adios, George. Good luck.
Are you off?
Yeah. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
That's all good, bye.
Have fun. Don't die.
Having Dan with us had been a huge help getting this far. On the one hand for moral support, but also because he'd been cycling slightly ahead of George to break this horrible headwind. And although it was a shame to lose him, Dan's departure did have a silver lining. We now knew that we didn't have that much further to go. At the top of the next hill, we decided to take a breather and check in with the support vehicle who we hadn't seen or heard from in over an hour.
Oh, you wouldn't happen to have seen your phone to see if Will's texted back?
No, I haven't had a check. We can check up here if you want. Yeah, he's not texted back. He tried to call a minute ago.
Hi mate, you're right.
Yeah, where are you? Where you at?
Good question.
In Carmarthen, we're at the train station. We're already there.
You're already there. Oh, fun.
We're at Ben Gadar, and then we hung around there, and then I saw George's text. Do you want us to come back your way?
I think we just need to get there now.
We are both on our last legs, I think. Is there any signs that the train is like on time or like late or anything like that?
It seems to be on time at the moment.
Okay. Do you want
When
to?
are they supposed to arrive at? Like, is it the...
It's like 5 past the hour, 5 past 7.
There's no delays from what we've checked on our phones here.
Okay.
So I'll catch up with the other guys, and I'll think of some dumb things to film that is us also just waiting for you guys to dramatically finish your drama race.
Yeah, this is fucking dramatic and I love it. Like I'm really feeling it. Like I'm strongly motivated but knackered as fuck.
Yes, this is what we like, George.
I'm like a motivated jelly.
Dude, I'm amazed. This is just such a crazy thing to do.
Well, I think it's just as ridiculous as the fact there isn't actually like a direct train line.
Yes, it is. That's the point. That's what
Oh shit, is that the point? Oh my god, I didn't think.
Fuck off. I think you guys are going to beat the train. I'm confident you guys are going to beat the train.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Let's crack on. We've got...
Yeah, but we've got to really go now.
Yeah, let's go.
Go, alright, go.
Alright, take it easy. Bye.
I should have been following him.
So we just had a quick pit stop there, chatting to Will to see where the others are at. And he wouldn't tell us. I was hoping he'd let us know whether we'd have to go quicker or whether we could slow down, you know. I'm hoping, I am not reliant on it, but I am certainly hoping that trains are doing their usual stint of being delayed and being a bit of a pain in the bum hole. Really dramatic downhill sail, whoa! Here we go! This is more like it. 30 miles an hour, 32 miles an hour. This is the fastest I've gone on a bike, dropping down to 17, and now 17 feels like a slow pace. And we can do this. Got a hill coming up, quite a steep one. Confident that even with me getting off and walking it, I'm still 100% confident that we are going to win. You can probably hear some sheep in the background. We're walking past a farm. This is what the Welsh countryside is all about.
Hello. How you doing?
Where are you at? Where are you in the Great Race?
I don't know. Where have we just passed? We're about an hour away. Where are you guys at?
Yeah, we've done the race. We're already in Carmarthen Station, guys.
You're not. I don't believe you.
What did he say?
They're already in Carmarthen.
We're not the bike people.
Oh, the band people are.
Not the bike people.
Man, okay, it might be tight then. I think we're gonna win. With this rain coming in now, that's not gonna help.
I don't know, Jay. I don't know. It's going to be tight. It's really going to be tight. At this point, I don't know who's going to win.
Yeah! We're gonna win. What I heard there, Will, is we're gonna win. That's what I choose to believe you said. That we're definitely gonna win and there's no way that anyone can stop us now. We are an unstoppable train machine. I think there's going to be a big lesson learned at the end of this. I don't know what that lesson will be, but I think there is a lesson here.
You're doing a crazy ride on the road to Carmarthen, and we'll see the verdict of this ridiculous escapade soon.
Right, man. Have a good one.
Take care, Will. Love you, boy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, after that phone call, my theory is that... Right, so they made a phone call first at about 1 o'clock when we were in Shrewsbury, 2 o'clock?
Yeah, right. It was probably before 2.
And so if they made a phone call at 2 and they said they were eating cake, and cake is a code for can't always...
Yeah.
And then if we reverse that, and we do some calculations and we work out how much time it takes for our train to reach the final station, we get this undeniable truth.
What?
George is dead.
No! I can't deny the facts, okay? I can't deny the calculations that after it. Okay, we'll have a memorial when we get to there.
Died doing what he loved, sweating like a pig.
The two of us waiting in Carmarthen station car park didn't share Jake's theory about George. But even though we didn't think he was dead, we all knew by now that George was going through hell. We had to sympathise with George from the comfort of our support vehicle, and just like him, we were cursing Yanto for dragging us into this ridiculous escapade.
That f***ing Yanto, right?
Yeah, what a cunt.
It's nice and dry in here.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I'm not outside right now. I'm really happy about that. And, yeah, I'm not going outside.
Trains suck as well.
Yeah, they really suck. Yummy time. What the fuck is this? Here we go. But yeah, I'm vibing because we got here like an hour early because everyone else is fucking stupid and they biked and trained.
That's why they're not here yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we just sat in the car because neither of us brought coats. So we just trapped in the fucking car in the rain.
Isn't it nice watching this footage back and seeing our support team being so very supportive and having a lovely chilled out time of it all? I only wish we could say the same of ourselves.
This is absolute agony. The most I've managed on a bike is 30, so today I'm doubling it. Must say I've done no training for this. Been a little bit lax. If I do not want to build that train line, then I'll settle for a long cycle path, straight, tarmacked, a pub every 10 miles or so, vending machines, people willing to tow you through it. Close to my left side of pastries. As much as I want to stop, I can't. I'm going to get there. Going to get there today. Going to beat that train. Don't want to fall off my bike. I had 4 crashes in 1 week and I haven't had a single one today. And I don't want to jinx myself. Pick up some serious speed on this bit. 27 miles an hour, 28, almost going 30. I've got to slow down, it's raining, the road is wet and I cannot afford to crash. Got to get there alive. I'm sensing a victory. 30 miles an hour down this hill, going 32, back brake heavily on now. I am now having to brake to match the road limit of 30 miles an hour. Didn't think I'd ever break the speed limit on a bike. See Yanto up ahead of me. He looks knackered though. He is dropped over the handlebars.
Alright, we're getting very close to Carmarthen now. The road system as you approach Carmarthen from this angle leads you in to a dual carriageway, which is going to be terrifying in these conditions for us as we're so knackered. I would not suggest going near one of those on a bike. It's not illegal, but it's stupid. George has just cycled past me. Right, I'm going to crack on.
Carmarthen is on the signs now, pushing it up this hill. Got halfway up. Yanto's behind me now. Surely we have this now.
I need to tell you, as we approach Carmarthen, it's very easy to get drawn into the motorway system. It is definitively a big scary road that I don't want to be anywhere near.
Then we do a time check.
Time check is about 6:30, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 6:30 now.
6:30, I don't know how far we've got to go or anything like that.
We're saying 36 minutes.
Oh my sugar.
Yes, please.
I was going to say just all of them.
36 minutes away and the train gets in at 5 minutes past. It is now 6:30. Very close. Very, very close.
In case you missed it, those numbers meant we were going to be arriving in Carmarthen at 6 minutes past 7, while Jake's train was timetabled to arrive at 5 past. This was gearing up to be a much closer finish than we'd been banking on.
But while them on the bikes could now see clearly down the barrel of their impending defeat, myself and Mark, were completely oblivious. Welcome to Jake Totally Knows What He's Talking About. Today we're talking about this body of water that we are now passing.
Tell me about that body.
It's a body of water and it's got waves on it. There are some houses on the other side and I think we're in Wales. Yay! I do love trains running along bodies of water. It's kind of nice looking out on this big expanse from the safety of a little seat, you know? I guess sometimes trains can be kind of nice. I like them, I just don't like being on them forever.
Yeah, I'd like to get up on myself.
At some point, I just want my bed.
I really want to go to sleep.
It's quite hard for us to sympathise with Jake here, when all he's done is spend the afternoon in one of those comfy 4-seat booths. But we could still relate to his state of sheer exhaustion, and after spending over 7 hours on this absurd journey, we were all, understandably, very tired. Tired of not having a direct railway.
My body is depleted of all the energies that is needed to go up the hills. Crossing the road, the path always has to be on the other side of the road to where you're cycling. Not a good look. Little bit of bonus information. Last time, well, me and Yanto, this isn't the first time we've attempted this together. In part of the planning process for this, we wanted to check out the route properly. So we did exactly that, and it took us 8 hours. Every sodden hill. A couple of years ago, I had an accident on my bike that left me hospitalised and bedbound for a year. I hit the back of my head, fractured my skull, put me into a coma and transported me to Swansea. I thought I'd never be able to cycle again. And now today, I'm doing this. I'm cycling this. 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Come on, 25. Here we go. Very wet through. Very, very wet through. No mud guards on my tyres, which means it's making it very difficult for visibility. More downhill. This is brilliant. I love this. Going down this hill, I'd hate to come up it, but going down it is a lot of fun. I can see the turn-off to Carmarthen. 11.3 as I crawl into Carmarthen.
I've just fished this camera out of my bag. It's been on charge for a little bit. So what's happening now? Oh, I got a chewy thing in my mouth. Banana flavour fruit pastel. If we can get to the station in 5 minutes, we win.
Yanto's passed with a little bit of information. If we can make it in 5 minutes, we win. 5 minutes. Here I come. Final push.
I don't know the way to the station.
Finally, here we are. But even though we'd technically made it to Carmarthen before the train, the finish line at the station still felt like it was a long way away. Worryingly for us though, 5 minutes away from the finish line, someone else was closing in on the station too, and he wasn't going to have any navigation or traffic trouble to deal with.
So we're now 5 minutes away, which wouldn't even give you a full trailer of a Shrek film. It's been a journey. I think as we come to the end, I don't know whether we've won or lost. I don't know where they are. I don't know what possibly been going on the other side of this. It's gonna be fascinating to watch some of that footage back and find out. We've had fun here, but it shouldn't have been 7 hours. At the price it's at the speed at which we've been going, it just could have all been averted. Just been a little bit of pre-thought, a little bit of extra money and a little bit of extra planning. But here we are, maybe beaten by a bike on a train. I hope not. I think we can make it. Again, some of those phone calls seem sketchy and I'm pretty sure George is dead. So we'll try to keep on track.
Rip George. See you guys in a bit.
This is it. The final stretch. Can you taste the tension? With the finish line around the next corner, nobody is making any bets. But this is essentially a travel documentary, so you can bet that we're about to take this high-stakes moment and interrupt it with an unnecessarily sentimental look back on the race you've just watched. About the race you've almost finished watching. Please keep watching.
This journey began over 60 years ago, with the Tories' short-sighted butchering of Wales's perfectly decent rail network.
Decades later, But still, decades before anyone here today could have voted against the changes, things were made worse beyond redemption for Wales by another Tory government in England. Considering they're called Conservatives, they like getting rid of a lot of good stuff. But we've already told you about all that. So coming back to the present day, with the prospect of an extinction-level environmental collapse within our lifetimes, those of us born into a Wales we played no part in building are faced with the difficult choice between bankrupting ourselves while exacerbating the climate problem, or leaving this wonderful part of the world for somewhere grey and depressing. In an effort to raise some awareness of this absurdity, two poor bastards agreed to put themselves through what really shouldn't be such an awful experience in order to present you with a microcosm of the suffering experienced every day by thousands of people, and argue the case for undoing this f***wittery so that future generations might not end up living in some Mad Max-style dystopia. Instead, we get Mad Max but with trains.
Our journey today has taken slightly less than 60 years, but for myself and George, the last 7.5 hours have felt like they've taken 6 decades. Aberystwyth is only 40 miles away from Carmarthen, or 60 for George on the course of the old railway. But by going through Shrewsbury and Cardiff, I have racked up over 250 miles. Enough to get from Aberystwyth to Carmarthen 7 or 8 times over.
For Jake, it has been a mind-numbing few hours, while for George, today has taken a back-breaking effort. On our bikes, we've gone from sea level in Aberystwyth to almost 800 feet above it. All the hills combined racked up 2,200, this many feet of climbing. Or a medium Welsh mountain, specifically 1 metric knicht. Along the way, we've heard from some of the historians, politicians and locals who know just how beneficial a new railway would be for West Wales. We've passed by the remains of one of Wales's industrial facilities which was forced into dereliction by the closure of this railway, and we've been passed by plenty of lorries which could be taken off the roads, making them safer for everyone if this line was reopened for freight trains. The signs indicating these roads' death counts were a constant reminder of the danger facing us every time a vehicle drove past. But we've made it this far in one piece, and with any luck, this railway won't stay in the history books forever.
Hopefully next time one of us needs to get from Aberystwyth to Carmarthen, we'll have an option we didn't have today. A train that isn't shit.
Now, hold on to your anoraks, because after watching 90 minutes of a 7.5-hour journey, we've finally reached the exciting 2 minutes of this race.
We are in Carmarthen. It is 5 minutes before the train gets here. In theory, I don't know if the train's delayed. If the train's delayed by as much as 2 minutes, we win. But last we heard it wasn't. We are going to be cutting it fine. Jesus boy. If George isn't saying something very similar to me on camera, the chances are you can probably see his brains dripping out of his ears.
Last push. Feet are soaking. If Yanto can do it, Yanto can prove it's possible. If I can do it, I'll prove it's impossible not to.
I hope George knows Carmarthen better than I do, because he is in my dust right now. I don't know Carmarthen, but I know that we've avoided the wrong turns I've taken every other time I come into Carmarthen. I think getting to the station is just a case of going this way. Straight line, easy. I think, as I'm saying this, the train should be arriving.
Right, let's get moving. Come on. It's that side. Sorry. Oh, just causing havoc as always.
Is there no train? There's a train, I don't think it's... I can see Will, he's saying go fast. He's saying go fast.
It's due in about 10 seconds.
What?
It's literally due in about 10 seconds.
Right, I think we've got this. It's the one bit of actual movement we get to do today. Stretching of legs. I'm ready.
Pulling into the station now. I think I see a train.
Expected 37. Oh, that's a different train. Different train.
Sorry. If you were like 20 seconds later, you would have lost.
Is that it?
That's the train.
Are we beating it?
We beat it!
Jesus. Oh, I didn't think we would.
Oh, it was easy.
Yeah, fish.
Right, time to go back.
Time, yep.
I wonder which way is out.
That way is out. Okay. Right, you ready?
Yes.
Let's go. Ah. Okay. Ah.
They're running down, sneaking behind the train. There's a police car right next to our bikes. I don't think we need to worry about them.
Come on. I believe in us.
Should we just pretend that we've been here for ages?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We've had time to dry off, have a change of clothes.
Look at him running.
Okay, I run out of belief.
Oh, look, he's out of breath after running 20 yards.
Damn it!
Told ya.
Yeah. Damn it.
It could not have been tighter.
Really?
It was a 20-second difference.
20 seconds.
I saw the train on the horizon and then I saw Ganto on the bridge.
You guys are so...
You have no idea.
Well done, man. What have you been
Albert.
through? That's the one.
Good battle.
Well, I mean, we've had a mental battle.
I was sitting down for 7
It's
hours.
difficult. It's harder than you think.
Yeah, try pedaling as well.
We believed you were dead.
You believed we were dead?
That was our main theory.
I died about 20 miles in, and then I couldn't feel it anymore.
He did, yes, he did. I talked to that lady over there, who's the conductor, and I was like, when's the next train coming in? She was like, oh yeah, at 7:04. I'm stood here 7:02. I was like, where the f*** are they? Where are they?
Oh my god.
And then literally, I see the light of the train, and then I turn and I see Ganto's head over the bridge.
We were legging it, and people were like, when we got just there, a woman went, they're already there, mate. And I was like,
We won. Okay, so this video has taken a little bit longer than I'd hoped. Originally, we'd wanted it to be like 20-minute video. Was that what we were aiming for? That was what we wanted. But because this journey is so stupidly, ridiculously, unbelievably, Jesus, why? Because this journey is so long, it's turned into basically a movie-length thing. Thank you for watching this far. Since you've put this much energy in already, I would definitely like you... I've got my hand stuck. Definitely like to direct you to... Where's... Am I in the middle of the frame?
Yeah, you're in.
I'm in the middle, okay. To not Transport for Wales, they're not the ones who are... Shrewsbury Cymru, who are the campaign group who are doing good work to try and get this line reopened. They're not trying to reopen it themselves, but they're trying to nudge politicians in that direction, which is working slowly. Support them. They've got a Just Giving page, or write to them and ask what you could do to try and get this line reopened. Top of the list is probably going to be write to your representatives. We're not affiliated with Shrewsbury and Cymru, we just want the same things as them. Thanks to everyone involved for putting yourselves through varying degrees of hell, particularly those of you who were the lab rats for me teaching myself how to film an interview. Yeah, I'm not good at thanking people. I think that's probably why I don't get Christmas presents anymore. Yeah, so if there's a moral to the story, it's that we here in West Wales are being denied the option of making sustainable choices. Having railways and, you know, bike infrastructure would give us that option. You know, it's not that everyone out here is a petrol head. That there isn't really an alternative for a lot of people, and a lot of people really can't afford to drive. Jesus, it's bloody expensive. So yeah, trains are shit. Let's have more of them.